how this works is he's going to introduce an icebreaker. For me, that's the most favorite speech because we actually learn something about you. So, Robert Flores.
All right, Robert.
Hello, my name is Robert Flores. This is my icebreaker speech. And it is an honor to be here today in front of all these distinguished guests who are here. We have a founding member, the regional president, the president, and all our other distinguished guests that come here, these faces that I see on a weekly basis. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come up here. And, you know, in order to really understand my story, it's important for me to explain a little bit about my family. Because I look like a white guy, I talk like a white guy, but I'm really of Cuban descent. So my family came here in the early 60s from Cuba, fleeing Castro's oppressive communist regime. They left their home of birth and went to a foreign land, which was thankfully, the United States of America. So they got here, and not only, I mean, I've seen stories and I've heard stories about people fleeing their nation of birth, whether it be because of oppression, disease, war, whatever the case may be, and they go to another country and they either are stopped at the borders or they are allowed into the society and marginalized or discriminated against, whatever the case may be. So it's always, usually you hear something negative, but not in the case of my family. They came here, they're immediately put on the path to citizenship, they were taught the language, allowed to go to school, to work, and to really fully integrate into society and build a strong foundation for future generations. And that really is a powerful thing. And it, you know, it's something that I never really thought about and I never truly appreciated until later on in my life. And I'll get to that point, but as for right now, I'll talk a little bit about me personally. I was born and raised here in South Florida. I spent most of my school years in Pembroke Pines. I did go to high school in Miami Lakes at Day Christian, and I graduated from there in 1996. Yes, I said 1996. I'm a little older than I look, but if you do the math, you know, that's a good thing, though, right? Yeah, you know, it's a good thing. So, anyways, I went from there. I went to Florida State University, and I graduated from there with a bachelor's degree in international relations. And while I was there, I will not say whether or not I was promiscuous, but nonetheless, I was there. It was a good time. But nonetheless, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in international relations. When I graduated, I came to a crossroads. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I liked the field of international relations, and I wanted to continue in those studies. But I had in the back of my mind all those times that people had told me growing up, especially parents and family, saying, you know, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer. So, you know, I had a hard time figuring out what it exactly was that I wanted to do. But I thought, you know, I'm not good at math and science, so those are out of the question. Doctor and engineer are not going to happen. But I did think I could be a lawyer, so I could be a lawyer. So luckily, I went ahead and went through the process of applying for law school. So from the moment you send your application in to the moment you go to law school is about 7 to 8 months. So I went ahead and I did that, and I had some time. So I said, you know what, I'm going to work in the legal field just to see how it is, if I want to do it before I invest all this time, effort, resources, money, and whatnot. So luckily, we had a family friend. He let me work in the legal field, and they worked in a broad array of legal issues. So I really got my hands dirty, and he let me just work on everything. And I realized almost very, very quickly that I absolutely did not want to be a lawyer. So I decided to go ahead and go with the original route and go to get my graduate degree in international relations, and I decided to go to Florida State again because I liked the undergraduate program. So I went there. I started the fall semester of 2001. And now, during the fall semester of 2001, there was a particularly tragic event that happened in this country that we're all familiar with, and that had a very deep impact on the future course of the rest of my life. So that event was none other than September 11th of 2001, which ironically we spoke of this morning, and it goes with the theme. So, John, I can't say that I really knew that was the theme, and I was going to integrate it into my speech, but nonetheless, it is part of my speech. So nonetheless, for September 11th, it is a day to commemorate. So I sat there, and I remember vividly where I was at, and I know that I'm sure you guys remember that as well. And I was in my apartment, and I was watching the TV, and I was watching the events unfold as they happened. And it really made me think deeply about a lot of things I had never thought of before. Number one, being a citizen, what my role is as a citizen, and what is my obligation to this country with all the blessings that we are able to take part in as citizens here. So I really started to think, and as you start to see the stories unfold on TV of the heroism and things and events that happen on that day, and even in the days after, as you start to hear those stories, I started to think more and more, and I almost felt compelled to do something and to serve. And my family, and then when I thought about it in the context of how my family, in their time of crisis, they came here and this country embraced them, I thought, you know what, I have to do something. I have to serve. I feel like I have a personal debt of obligation to this country to serve in some form or fashion. I just didn't know how I was going to go about doing that. So as I continued to watch the news and follow the story as it unfolded, it started to change. The theme of the news started to change from the events of that day, the heroism of the firefighters and the policemen that rushed into the building on that day. And it started to change to a more militant theme of we're going to invade Afghanistan, the global war on terror, we're going to hunt down terrorists. So I thought, you know what, that's how I'm going to serve. And that's how I'm going to pay back my debt to this country. I'm going to join the military. So literally that day I got up, I walked out my door, I walked into the local recruiting station, I sat down in front of an Army recruiter, and I was like, I want to serve my country. And he said, son, I can make that happen for you. Dotted line. So I sat down, I signed on the dotted line. I told him the only thing I wanted to do was I just wanted to finish my semester of school, and then I would go ahead and go. So I finished my semester of school, and I went off to serve in the Army, and that was almost 10 years ago. So I served in those 10 years. I served in the United States Army. I did 2 deployments to Afghanistan. I traveled all over the world. I've had a wealth of rich experiences, and I'm honored to have been able to serve, and I'm so glad that I was able to have the opportunity to really pay back the debt that I felt that I owed in my personal obligation. But I realized after 2 deployments that enough was enough. So it was time to it was trying to hang up the uniform. I submitted my paperwork, and I was off to go live a peaceful life in the private sector. So I came back here because this is where I'm from. All my family lives here. I realized also I spent a lot of time away from the family, so I wanted to reconnect with the family. And I also decided I was going to reconnect with that old dream that I had of getting a graduate degree in international relations. So I'm currently enrolled in Florida International University, where I'm in my first semester of my graduate program in international relations. And that concludes my story. That's who I am. I'll now turn it back over to our Toastmaster, John. Thank you very much.